and gentlemen, welcome to episode 32 of FeeD's Awesome Guest Panel. My guest at this time, let me just say, is a true pleasure. I've been a fan of her work since I was a young kid, and now I'm 30 now. And you may know her before I get into the role that everybody knows her in. She has done many other projects. She was Joe Longhurst in Angels. She was Arabella in Mother Makes Three, and of course, she was also Lucy Dean in The Mill of the Floss. She's also a psychotherapist and a child star actress and a veteran actress. She is Miss Julie Veruca Salt Dawn Cole. Julie, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. What an introduction. Thank you.
I was trying to give you a grand one. You're such an icon. Julie?
Okay, it's back again. It's back again. Okay.
Now, before we get into the Willy Wonka questions, though, I do have some other questions, though, before we get into that, because I loved your role in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's definitely one of my favorites growing up. But one of my first questions is, first off, how are you and your kids? How are you and your family?
Lockdown here in the UK, but yeah, we're all healthy.
That's very good. And now, my next question is going to be, how did you get started? This is going to be a cliche question, but how did you get started in acting?
I had a very good teacher at my school at the time. Her name was Kay Dewdney, and she, I think, was a bit of a frustrated actress herself. And she suggested that I tried out for stage school, which I did, and then happy to say I got in. And that was how my career started. I'm going to take these glasses off because they're flaring like mad, aren't they? So anyway, I can't see you now, but that's fine. That's fine. I'll live with that.
Okay. Um, Now, your memories on working on Mother Makes Three.
Yeah. That was the first television I'd done, which I did when I came back from shooting Willy Wonka. So that was my first television role, playing this ghastly girl, Arabella, who was the horrible girl next door, who had a crush on one of the boys. But it was a mother who had two boys. That's why it's called Her Mother Makes Three. And one of the boys was my friend from school, David Parfitt. He was the younger one, not the one I was supposed to have the crush on. And he was the youngest brother in that. And David Parfitt is a hugely successful movie producer. We're still friends. He produced Shakespeare in Love, Madness of King George, My Week with Marilyn, Red Joan. So yeah, that's David Parfitt. So that was our first, for both of us, our first television together.
Ah, very cool. And your memories on working on Angels.
Angels, I was 17 when I went into Angels, and it was my first kind of grown up role when Willy Wonka was sort of forgotten, really. You had two distinct careers, child and adult. So I was 17 when I went into that, and it was a series for the BBC about student nurses, and it followed the lives of six student nurses. And it was kind of groundbreaking TV at the time because the focus was about these six young women at various stages in their training. So I played Jo Longhurst, who was the nice nurse. She was a little bit headstrong and always getting into trouble because she didn't follow the rules. But it was a fun series to do, and I was in that for 3 series and over a period of 2 years, and working with some fantastic people. We had some brilliant actors in it. They all would come in and do their guest spots as patients. So it was a great series to be in, and fantastic to learn your craft. I was 17 when I went into that, and I was wondering about going to drama school, which you can't go to here until you're other than child school, until you're 18. So it seemed crazy to leave a hit TV series to go to drama school. So I never did go to university for drama school.
Oh, okay. And your memories on working on The Mill of the Floss.
Mill on the Floss was I just beautiful costumes. I played Lucy. You said the surname. I couldn't even remember her surname, but I remember that. And I had beautiful costumes, and we had lovely locations. So I was playing the rich girl. So I had all these beautiful costumes that were made for me. And Mill on the Floss was lovely. Yeah.
Awesome. And Now, before we get into the Willy Wonka questions, I just want to say two things. First of all, I definitely had to show my support for you today because in the movie, Veruca Salt wore red, so I wanted to show my support. Team Veruca
Thank
today.
you. Thank you.
And also, I definitely want to say Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, 1971, will always be one of my favorites. Have it on DVD, proud to have it. Not only that, but I also have a golden ticket because this interview definitely was a golden ticket for me.
Good, good. Well done. Keep them safe.
Thank you. Well, take me to the audition for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Like, how'd you get the role as Veruca Salt? Take me there.
The first audition was a pure cattle call. I was at theatre school and they came into the school hall, all the girls that were, the right age or height were kind of lined up. No, too tall, too short, too whatever. And, that was the first process. But I don't think I even knew then what it was for. But, that was a regular occasion at school that, they would often come in to cast for things. So that was the first one. And then there was like, oh, you've been recalled. Oh, great, nice. And then recalled again. And then you're getting a little bit closer and thinking, And then I remember, they were saying it was getting towards the penultimate recall and I hadn't read the book. It hadn't been out very long at that point. So we're talking casting now was early 1970 and the book was published, 68, 69, something like that. And so I hadn't read it. And but then when I was going back for the last audition, I went out with the school bus driver and we drove around London to a bookstore to find it, and I read it on the train home cover to cover, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. I'd really love to be in it, having read all the chocolate room description, and just thinking, my gosh, this is going to be amazing. So I then went for the recall, the final recall, read some excerpts from the book, and then it gets always to the part in auditions where they say, so tell me what you've been in. And I was getting wise at this point because I'd been for a few castings and every time I'd said nothing, I'm a beginner, they went, thank you and goodbye. So on this occasion, I thought, right, get smart, and I lied. And I made up a bunch of stuff saying I'd been in this movie and that movie and Oliver and various other things that I knew had kind of been out, and I just made it all up. And I figured they probably wouldn't be able to find out, and so they never did. We didn't have the internet then, you see, because now it'd be easy, you just Google somebody. But yeah, you could get away with it then.
I do want to take your first scene in the movie, though, and which always bums me out because everybody, with the exception of you and Peter Ostrom, who played Charlie, everyone got TV appearances. But why not Veruca Salt?
Good point. Good point. No, she doesn't get a TV interview. Yeah, Augustus does, Mike TV does, Violet does, Veruca doesn't, and nor does Charlie Bucket. Well, there you go. Well spotted. No idea.
I think Veruca should have gotten a TV spot.
I think she could have had her own show, but never mind.
I know, right? Now, memories of working with your parents in the movie, Mr. and Mrs. Salt, Pat Coombs and Roy Kinnear.
Yeah, well, Pat Coombs was a household name in the UK. I knew her very well and was very, in awe of Pat Coombs. And she doesn't actually even get a credit in the movie. There's a lot of people in that movie that don't get their name credits at the end. But I was, terribly in awe of her. I knew who she was. And Roy Kinnear also. I think I probably knew Pat Coombs more than Roy Kinnear at the time. Roy had done more kind of sort of satire and things, which probably the grown-ups would have known, but not so much me. But Roy, they both were absolutely lovely. Obviously Pat I only worked with really for that day that we were shooting the finding the ticket scene, and she was lovely. And Roy obviously spent a lot longer with and became, each parent sort of adopted their kid and became like their surrogate parents while we were filming.
Oh, I see. And I like Roy Kinnear's work. I loved him in The Three Musketeers. He was a great actor. Did you see his son looks just like him? It's like scary.
Absolutely. Rory Kinnear looks just like him. I would like to meet Rory one time because there's a couple of things I'd like to ask him. Roy used to say a little poem to me, and I would just wonder if Rory knows it. So one day I'll meet him and go and say hi.
Very cool. And now I do want to ask the question about, in that scene, it was a factory. What factory was that where they were all unwrapping the chocolates during Veruca's scene?
that wasn't a factory. That was actually just one of the sound stages at the, it was constructed just to, the same old as all the other sound stages were, filmed at Bavaria Film Studios. So it was, studio number whatever it was, and the room that we were in would have been, I guess, a production office, because it was up those stairs. So no, it wasn't a real factory. It was
Wow.
it was part of the film complex.
I didn't even know that. I thought it was an actual factory. That sounds.
No, I know. Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
It does. And now your memories of working with the late great Gene Wilder.
Yeah, well, of course I do. And just being a very, very sweet, kind man, very friendly, very approachable. And I learned recently from Rusty Goff, who played one of the Oompa Loompas, that when Gene discovered, because we were filming on location in Germany, and away from the studios there, when he discovered that I was the only child there that didn't have a parent with me to accompany me, I just had my tutor stroke chaperone. But when Gene found that out after a couple of weeks shooting, he's like, well, what do you mean she hasn't got a parent with her, or a relative? So it's like, no, I didn't have. So apparently he said to Rusty and Roy and everybody, hey boys, we got to look after this girl. So I did get kind of special attention, I think.
Very cool. And now the scene, like which is the scene that which started all like in the movie to start the whole factory, the outside scene, waiting for Willy Wonka at the scene, memories of shooting that scene.
Well, that was actually the very first thing that we shot. For me, and that was when we all met each other, the kids and everybody. So we hadn't met each other until that point. So we're all on the rostrum. It was September. It was a sunny day. Lots of people around, lots of Oompa bands and all that kind of thing. So it was just a really fun thing to do. Yeah, and it's actually Munich Gasworks, the exterior of Munich Gasworks, and you can still go and visit today. There were some things that were added in. Obviously, the Wonka letters were added in, and I think the actual door that we go in is a kind of false door that didn't exist. But yeah, it's still there.
Oh, okay. Now we get into the part where we go inside, and then there's a chocolate room which leads to Pure Imagination, your memories of shooting this scene, and of course the chocolate room itself, but also shooting the song Pure Imagination.
Yeah, I mean, the set was incredible. A lot of people know the story now because our director put out this message that he didn't want any of the kids to see it until we actually shot, and he wanted to see our original reaction. However, I'd been out there early to record my song, and while I was, having costume fittings and rehearsing the song and everything, one of the, I think it was Harper Goff actually asked me if I'd like to see around the set. So, excuse me, I looked around it and, saw it all being constructed. And then, we heard this message from Mel Stewart, the director, that we were not allowed to see it. So I never said anything.
Oh, okay. Now you mentioned Mel Stewart. Working with Mel Stewart, memories of working with him.
Well, Mel Stewart was a very shouty director. He was quite fierce, and yeah, he was quite a volatile guy. But we were all a little bit. I was frightened of him as a kid, and you just didn't want to mess up because Mel would scream and yell and stamp his feet a bit. But then years later, when we all met up for a reunion, and lovely Diana Soul, who played Mrs. Bucket, we were in Boston, I think, for a convention there. And he was saying, you stand here, you do that, you, Julie, come here, and Peter, down there. And he was, giving all these instructions. And then Diana Soul, when we were getting ready for dinner in the evening in my room, she said to me, I don't know why we're all so nervous. He can't fire us now.
Oh man. Now the scene, like after Pure Imagination, we got to see Michael, who goes in the lake, into the chocolate lake, and then gets pumped goes inside the plumbing thing. Memories of just your reaction, like was it like genuine, like you like the memories of doing that scene where he gets sucked into the pipe?
Well, a lot of that obviously we didn't see because there are cutaways. So there's cutaways to him in the tube, and then there's cutaways with a dummy, and but what we did see was him falling in, and they were very specific that there was a bit of the river that was deeper than anywhere else. So he had strict instructions to fall in that place so he wouldn't bash his head. And poor Michael back then didn't speak English, and we didn't speak German. So we didn't really speak to him very much. We do now, and he's, speaks brilliant English. But if you ask Michael about the river, he will tell you it was dirty, cold, stinking water.
Oh boy. Now in that scene in Pure Imagination though, when you're hitting the giant and it has chocolate inside though, like was that just a prop that was just filled with chocolate, or was that thing edible as well?
No, it was a styrofoam ball, and it had this horrible chocolate slimy stuff inside it. It was disgusting. As a child, I did not like chocolate. I did not like anything flavored chocolate. So I didn't like, I still, some things I like, some I don't, but I don't like muffins and Oreos and chocolate brownies. Hate them. And so that thing that was full of like a chocolate custard, it was disgusting. But for the eagle eyes amongst you, when you watch it next time, and what I didn't know, or I suppose I did, but didn't think about it, that rock that I was smashing it on was a real rock with very sharp edges. So there is one shot where you can see that my knee is very bloody.
Wow, I didn't notice that.
It's a quick shot, so you'll see it, yeah. But if you look out for it, yeah.
Now, this scene is considered one of the most scariest scenes in movie history, and that is the Wonkatania boat ride. Your thoughts of doing this scene and just filming that in general?
Well, that was probably about a week that we were filming that sequence. And the boat then, once it goes into the tunnel, it moved then to a different soundstage and was put up on sort of ladders, platforms, what have you. And, so it's raised up quite, I don't know, 15 foot off the ground so that they could project all that nasty stuff behind us. So yeah, we had to sit looking at, chickens getting their head cut off and all of that kind of thing all day long. And of course, what we didn't know was, although it was scripted, the lines about there's no earthly way, no, all of that, we didn't know how Gene was going to deliver it with that mad, lights and everything going. So that was kind of like, whoa, okay, this is a bit crazy.
Oh, that was a scary scene. And is it true though? Because I believe like I read it on somewhere online where like the Oompa Loompas, they didn't know they were not actually driving the boat. Like it was actually like it was like on a gear or something, like which like it was connected like a train, right?
Yeah, it was like, Pirates of the Caribbean ride, it's on a track underneath the water. But Rudy, when he was steering in the Imagination Room, actually thought he was steering it.
Wow. What I think I love about the Willy Wonka is like the clever jokes they put in there. Like I remember there was one where Gene Wilder goes, as Willy Wonka, he goes, no touching, no tasting, no telling. And Grandpa Joe goes, no telling what? And then he goes, you see the joke. I mean, you see the joke that was there, right?
Yeah, yeah. And they'd spent ages trying to get the rhythm of that right. Not everybody gets it because it's, it should flow, no telling what you see. But they spent ages trying to get no touching, no tasting, no telling what you see, and trying to really labor it. So some people get it and some people don't. I do remember that. And the debates going, no, that's not right. You've got to get that line reading exactly right. I'm not sure they really pulled it off, but
Now we get to the inventing room scene though. Your memories of shooting that scene. Of course, this is a scene where Denise, as Violet, ate that thing. She became a blueberry.
Yeah.
Your memories of doing that scene.
Oddly enough, that when I look at that scene, and sometimes, if I see it at the movie theatre or something, I remember the smell of that soundstage, and that sounds really weird, but there was a lot of dry ice and styrofoam around, so all this dry ice was coming up from the cauldrons. So when I watch it, sometimes I was like, oh yeah, I remember the smell now. And the thing with the bees and all of that was just fun, and there was a lot of fun stuff there that you could sort of poke around and see. But it was a fun sequence to shoot. And of course, poor Denise in that wretched styrofoam ball all day.
And with that scene though, like I mean, I definitely remember this too, was like when they said you can't tell, like, you're not to tell a single soul, and then you did the fingers crossed like this.
Yeah, that was a little thing I added in, because that's something we always did as kids. We used to say Fey nights or something. I don't even know what that means, but that's what we used to do when you were telling a fib. but you were hoping to get away with it. You'd cross your fingers, then the fib didn't count. So I did that, and I had my fingers crossed and I stuck them behind my back, and Mel Stewart said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm telling a fib, and so I'm doing it." And so he went, "Oh, okay, close up on that."
Now what were those, like, those everlasting, I mean, were they actual candies or were they just like a toy, like prop?
No, they weren't even that. They were made, I would say, molded out of almost like the lid of your takeaway coffee cup. So they were just sort of molded out of that. So they were kind of plastic, plastic cardboard now. And I don't think that shape would work as a sweet as a candy. You'd be work. So no, and of course, nobody actually eats it. You don't see anybody eat it. So yeah.
I just wanted to like confirm too, like an audio commentary, because I listened to the audio commentary with you, Peter, Denise, Michael, and Paris. Is it true that Paris actually like let the bees out?
Well, he still denies it. He doesn't remember doing it. And he says, "Well, how would I have done it? I wasn't tall enough, and I don't know." So maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the bees did get out, and Paris was the only one that got stung.
Irony, isn't it?
Irony.
He's the one that let it out, and he was the only one that got stung. Now we get to your scene though, which I believe was filmed on your 13th birthday, right? And that is the Golden Goose scene. Like, memories of shooting that scene, and of course, I Want It Now.
Well, we pre-recorded the song, so I was lip syncing to that. So they'd given me a little tape recorder for my room, and I used to practice the lip sync in a mirror when I was minded to do it, a bit like homework. You're like, yeah, tomorrow. So I didn't put as much practice in as I probably should have done. And it was, I'd rehearsed on some mornings at the weekends, which I was pretty annoyed about, because everybody else was going off and doing fun stuff and visiting castles and that kind of thing, sightseeing, and I was rehearsing my song. So anyway, but so I would rehearse with Howard Jeffrey, the choreographer, while they were building the set, so we knew what the space was like. And then obviously it was over a week that we kind of filmed it, but the final bit was my birthday, and I remember sitting in a different studio, they'd plotted to get me out the way. So I was sitting there in the makeup department of another soundstage, and then the assistant director said, "Come in, Julie, run, Mel's looking for you. Oh my God, where have you been?" I was like, oh my God, I was so scared. And I ran onto the soundstage, and it was dark, but there was a cake there with candles on it, and then they brought the lights up, sang happy birthday, and then it's like, Mel is like, "Right, can we get back to work now? Right, down that sheet."
Now, I definitely I waited a long time to ask this question because, watching the movie, and I've always wondered this. But in the scene with the trapdoor, when you fall at the end of I Want It Now, where does that trapdoor lead to? Was it a slide, and where did that slide lead to?
To the furnace.
Yeah,
it wasn't a slide at all. It was a trapdoor that did that.
So what happened to you at the end?
So I landed in reality. I landed on some cardboard boxes and a mattress and a couple of stagehands to just make sure that I didn't bounce back up again. But yeah, there was no slide. And it's one of the questions that I get asked quite a lot by children as well. It's like, where did you go to? So depending on the age is my answer.
But wait a minute. How far was the drop though? Like, how far were you?
My height and a bit more. So, it was 5 foot, 6 foot, whatever it was. So that if you stood up, you probably would clear the trapdoor, probably just about. But because of the mattress and things, if you bounce back up, you'd hit your head. So, because that closed after me pretty quick as well. So, the message was, once you're down, stay down.
I see. So when you drop to the trap door though, there's harbor boxes waiting, and there are a couple of stagehands ready to to make sure you don't, get hurt, right?
Yeah, well, that I don't pop back up, really, because your instinct is once you hit down, you sort of might bounce back up. Of course, really, they had no idea how this was going to work because they hadn't done it. so yeah, we did it once. That was it. He said, "No, once, you're not hurt. We got it. It's fine."
Because I always wondered as a kid though, how how far was the drop from where you were to where that thing landed down? Like that's what I always wondered as a kid.
Yeah, it wasn't, it's enough to make you go, whoa, because the floor just drops from underneath you. And what I had been told was, when you feel yourself falling, you usually put your arms out to steady yourself. And they said, whatever you do, don't do that, because you'll whack your arms on the side of the thing. There wasn't space for it. And, make sure you don't tilt forwards, because if you do, you'll overbalance and you'll crack your head on the front. And make sure you don't do that, because you'll do, the same backwards. Oh, and, remember to sing and lip sync at the same time.
I see. And this also like, boggled my mind as a kid, but Roy went face first into that thing though. So I was wondering, how did he do that though? Like, were you there when they did that?
Yeah, well, watching it, yeah, but he did the same thing. So he goes in and the stage hands are there, sort of grab his shoulders and pull him down. So yeah, either way is not much fun. I mean, I couldn't see where I was going. He did see where he was going, but still going in sort of face first is kind of like, whoa, and he does that little trip and everything himself. So
I see. So he goes face first, and then while like underneath, they're like grabbing him to make sure he gets out safely, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they're there to catch him and smooth him through, yeah.
Okay. And I noticed during the filming of I Want It Now, like watching the scenes when you go on destruct mode and you destroy everything and you knock the boxes down, I noticed that it actually hit, Charlie, Grandpa Joe, Mike TV. I noticed that in that scene, like if you play it back when you throw the wagon into the boxes, it actually does land on, like at least I saw it land on Nora Denny.
Okay, I've probably never watched that bit. I remember they put air canisters, air cylinders in the boxes to make them go pow. So, but again, they didn't do a lot of rehearsal on these things. It's like, oh, well, we'll film the first one. So yeah, poor Dodo Denny, probably, she was nearest. So yeah, she'd have got them tumbling on her. But yeah, health and safety back then wasn't what it is now.
And let me just say, I loved I Want It Now. I thought it was a great scene, like especially the way you just sang it and just the way like the interaction you had with Roy was just you nailed it. Like it was like it just came off like natural. Like it's like I feel like it wasn't a script. I felt like it was like an actual thing happening at the moment.
Well, I compliments, I guess, to Howard Jeffrey. He was a brilliant choreographer, and and it was a great number. A tricky little song, it's got key changes and syncopated rhythms and everything, but a lot of fun to do. A lot of fun.
I agree. And Matt Cooper from the Willy Wonka fan Facebook page wants to know, how did you guys pull off the Golden Goose scenes? Were they animatronics or were they puppets?
No, they were added in. They were CGI'd, so they were put in later. So, we didn't get to see them, but you could see where the set stops just above, and bits of straw. And then that from there on up was CGI'd.
Oh, okay. And there was another question too, like related to, yeah. One of my friends wanted me to ask you, the Golden Goose like eggs, were they styrofoam painted? Like, what was the props of it?
Yeah, they were styrofoam, just, molded styrofoam, pretty lightweight, so that when I throw it up, it is very light. They gave me one for my birthday. I did keep it for a number of years.
Now, is it true though? Like, and I was told, like, I mean, not told, but I looked online and it said that you were allowed to keep three props though, like as a birthday present, which I think was a golden egg, the golden ticket, and I believe a third. I don't know if it was an everlasting gobstopper.
I don't think we were allowed to keep them. There was never any official, yeah, you can have this. The golden egg was definitely given to me for my birthday. The other stuff, I had a number of tickets and Wonka bars for a while, particularly from the shelling room. There was a stack of tickets left on the side there, and they were just burning everything afterwards. So I remember saying to the props man, can I have one of these or a couple of these? And, yeah, sure, help yourself. And we also did trick or treating around the studio lot, and at that point in the trick or treating, we were also given Wonka bars. So I had quite a few things for a number of years.
Oh, okay. And did you continue to still stay on set after your scene was finished, or?
That was it. Bye bye, and you're out of here. And
Yeah.
you're shipped off home. So I remember leaving, and I remember visiting because to say goodbye to people. So my car picked me up at the hotel, took me to the studio to pick up a few final bits. I've no idea what, probably expense check or something. I've no idea. And I remember walking, and they were then filming the TV room for Mike TV. So just walking there, and they're going, or showing me the set and saying, this is cool, but don't walk on it because we mustn't have any footprints on it. And that was it. So that was that was me. And that was like, oh, okay. Once you're done on a movie, you're done. And they move on and forget you. It's like, okay.
I never forget you, Julie. But my next question was, on screen you had an sort of an on-screen rivalry with Denise Nickerson, who played Violet Beauregarde. In real life, you were the best of friends. Memories of working with the late great Denise Nickerson.
Well, yeah, we were, good friends together. We stayed in the same hotel. We were 6 months in age apart. I thought she was incredibly sophisticated because she had, she came from New York and she'd been in other movies, but we were just great friends. We didn't have cable TV back then, so we would hang out in each other's rooms. She had a little record player, a dancette thing or something, so we used to go to her room and play David Cassidy songs, The Partridge Family and Bridge Over Troubled Water. I think that was the album at the time, and The Carpenters. I remember that. So we would often, just hang out together.
Very cool. And I do want to say though, I miss it to this day though. I got to form a friendship with Denise. Friends with her daughter-in-law Jasmine. Just want to give Jasmine and Josh a shout out because they're very good people. Good friends. And I was telling when Denise, when she was still with us, how I absolutely love the dynamic that you and Julie Dawn Cole had in the movie, because it just shows you how in the storyline purposes that you both were you did not like each other, but in actuality you guys could have been more than best friends.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The last couple of years she'd been quite sick, and she had the first stroke that she had. I think that was in the summer, maybe the year before she died, I think. And Paris and I both, Mike TV and we both went to visit her. She was recovering at that point, but she really couldn't, she could understand everything, but she couldn't speak. And it was quite a hard, as anybody knows, those are gut-wrenching meetings when, somebody is recovering, and hugely frustrating that she wanted to say things, but she couldn't get the words out. And so we ended up singing Wonka songs, and then she was really happy. So we were singing Pure Imagination, and that she could do. She could manage the tune, and that it was like, oh, okay, now we're communicating. So it was incredibly sad. And I know that both Paris and I left, and we just went outside, and it was like, just need a moment here. It was tough. When you see your sister not being able to communicate was really hard. So, and then she finally, died about a year later, I think. But yeah, she wouldn't have wanted to live the way she was, not being able to communicate.
I see. And yeah, like I said, like you in Paris, I was very heartbroken, because I remember when I did one of my Facebook Live videos, she and Jasmine went on it, and I showed her the Wonka ticket I had the movie, and I was showing her the things I just showed you now. I showed her, and it just put a smile on her face, and that made my day that day. Julie?
But
Oh. Nah, and but speaking we talked about the Wonka kids though. I want to get your memories of working with Michael, Paris, and Peter.
Well, Michael, as I said, not so much, because he didn't speak English, we didn't speak German, so not so much. Now, he's a very funny guy, a great sense of humor. I also didn't know back then, they didn't give him a dressing room because he was a local boy, so he would come in a taxi with his mother every day, and then he'd go home in the taxi with his mother, and they didn't give him a dressing room. So when he had all those, and he would get dressed at home in the lederhosen and the suit. But when he fell in the river, apparently he had to go home in wet clothes. Paris was a couple of years younger than us. So we were turning 13 and he was 11, not 12. So it was kind of big age difference then. So, Paris back on the movie set was, kind of annoying. He's like your annoying little brother. He was quite loud, and it was like, but Peter, Charlie Bucket, Denise and I, we were, the three of us were like a little, you know, musketeers. We were in the same hotel, hanging out together. So yeah, I would say we were probably the closest.
Very cool. And definitely wanted to get your thoughts on the before I get into the 2005. I mean, because you've seen the 2005 Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right?
I have.
Before I get into that, I want to ask like the 1971 Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory, that was filmed in the UK or was that Germany?
Germany, Germany.
Okay. What part of Germany?
Munich, in
Munich.
Munich.
All right. I wasn't sure like which one it was. Like but do you have any fun stories that you'd like to share though during your time filming Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Oh gosh, I mean, you know, I think just all the friendships is probably the thing. You know, sharing those friendships that we still have is that's the thing I remember most. You know, the amazing sets. Every set, you know, was like going into a different playroom every day. So you know, the whole experience was fun. I couldn't pick one thing.
I see, and very cool. And now we talked. I just mentioned before the 2005. I wanted to get your thoughts on the 2005 Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake.
Um, I don't think I'm the best person to comment on it. There are bits that I liked, there are bits I didn't like. When it came along, we all thought, oh, well, you know, our day is done. You know, Johnny Depp, great, Tim Burton, great. But it didn't seem to ignite the passion that our version did. So you know, it has its fans, but it also it made everybody a little bit partisan, and it sparked off a new debate, if you like. So it was kind of interesting because we thought our version would disappear, but in fact, it hasn't.
I agree 100% with you. And like you said though, like I mean, I thought it was okay. Don't get me wrong, nothing against them. I thought it was an okay movie, but nothing can recapture the magic of the 1971 Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory. And not again, nothing against them, but I just thought the 71 was much better. I mean, I don't think there's a comparison.
I don't. I mean, as I say, I'm not the right person to ask. So I go along with the fans, and you know, most times when I'm somewhere or other, the fans get quite heated about it, and they get quite cross. So
Divided?
very divided. Yeah, but you know, mostly I don't know what the percentage would be. I've never done a survey, but mostly they come down in favour of the 71 version.
I see. And now your what were your thoughts on Julia Winter's portrayal of Veruca Salt?
You know, yeah, perfectly fine. You know, yeah, jolly good. I mean, I've only ever seen it once. You know, a long while ago now. So I'm, you know, I haven't watched it since. But you know, perfectly good. Yeah.
There was only like I mean, it was an okay movie. There was only one cool thing about it, and this I was going to tell you this too. In America, we had we had the Wonka products, and one of the things they came out with was golden chocolate eggs, which I thought was really good. So I like when they, you know, do like food promotion like for the movie. Like for the 2005, they promoted. I can't believe they actually did this, but you know, like the Hostess those cupcakes, like the with the cream filling inside. What they did though is that they took like a pound cake cupcake and they put to promote the Charlie and Chocolate Factory. They filled it with purple cream filling. Surprisingly, I guess because those were like Willy Wonka.
Sounds
It does. Um, but
disgusting.
they also brought out Wonka bars, but not the same like ones that you know we all love and know, like the brown and pink wrapper. But they brought in like a purple wrapper. But it was still cool to see the Wonka bars back because I love those Wonka bars. I mean, I think Nestle put it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, and to there's a couple other questions I had about the 1971 though. Like, is it true that like there was some scenes like doing Pure Imagination when Gene had the cane and like he was like swinging, so you don't know where he was going like with the cane? Like, did
Yeah,
anyone?
he played around with it a bit, but I mean, you know, we did sort of know where it was going, you know, and you just you'd feel the breeze and keep out the way.
Did you know that Gene was gonna do like that thing where like while you and Denise were like arguing and he does flicks the cane like strikes
That
it?
that all started to get worked in when, you know, it was just, you know, direction on the day. Wouldn't it be fun if you did this? I think Denise and I were kind of adding in that, and they were like, you know, if Mel saw something that he liked, he'd embellish it, he'd go around it, and then go, okay, yeah, we can build on this. So that was actually just Denise and I, you know, because he'd said, you know, you two don't like each other. It's like, okay, so that was what we were doing.
That was my next question too. Like when you want to do something with like Denise, whether it's like, you know, back and forth or like, you know, some kind of interaction with them, like would you be like, okay, Denise, did you want to do this, like, and then I'll do this, like type thing, or?
Yeah, it was all like that. We'd just play with it, you know, because you do a rehearsal to see how long it was going to take to go down. And while you rehearsed, you could kind of, you know, you had a bit of freedom to do stuff. And, you know, provided you hit your marks and the beginning mark and the end mark, okay, but the, you know, end mark, but then, you know, anything else is like, yeah, have fun with it.
Did you have any favorite, I mean, because Veruca Salt had many great lines. Did you have a favorite line? Did you perform as Veruca?
One I always like, my favorite line is, Snosberry, who ever heard of a Snosberry?
That's when he goes, "We are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dreams." I love that line too. I thought you nailed that role. And there's that, and then I loved like I just thought it was funny though in the fact I mean in the scene when you get your the golden ticket. It's like, you know, I won't go to school then, and then it's like they don't like me, you know, everyone's against me.
Yeah, you're a rotten mean father. You never give me anything I want, and I won't go to school till I have it.
And you know what I love too when you deliver the line, "Make them work twice."
Yeah, yeah.
Love
No,
that line.
I quite like that scene. It was a lot of fun to do because, you know, I got to be as not. I mean, who dare speak to their parents like that?
I know, right?
It's
I
fun.
agree. And I liked in the auto commentary for that DVD, like where when you said "make it work twice," it was you back then saying it, and then it's you again, like now currently saying that. So it was cool, like to like a mirror thing, like it was like parallel.
Well, I do actually have to correct you because the line is "make them work nights."
Make them look nice. Pardon me.
It's okay.
So you know, I have so many great, so many memories of this movie. I just totally forgot that one
Make
part.
them work nights.
Make them look nice. Uh, Now, my next question is like, in the 2005 Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like they switched from the Golden Geese to the Nut Room, which is interesting because I believe Mr. Salt's job was nuts, where like he worked at it like in a nut factory or something. What was your thoughts about how they switched from the Golden Geese to the Nut Room?
You know, the nut room is what happens in the book, but back in 1971 we didn't have the technology or the trained squirrels, so they couldn't do it, and that's why they made it golden geese. I just think, you know, it was a fun idea, you know, golden geese that lay golden eggs for Easter. But obviously the more recent version, you know, they went back to the original idea from the book.
Oh, okay. And now, in your opinion, though, like out of the three, like which would you say would be your favorite, though? Like at the number one all time, the 1971 movie, the book, or by Roald Dahl, or the 2005 movie?
Well, if you didn't have the book, you wouldn't have either movie, so I'm going to have to go with the book.
Okay. And have you you met Roald Dahl in person, right?
Yeah.
What's he like?
He was very tall, and he was slightly dour and sort of slightly grumpy. Didn't really like children very much. Very, you know, sinister. I remember asking him why he called Veruca Veruca. Why did you name her Veruca? Because a Veruca is a planter's wart. And you know, it's a strange name for a child. And he said, I called her Veruca because she was a wart of a child.
Oh, okay. And memories of working on set with Jack Albertson.
Yeah, Jack, you know, just a nice, kind, friendly man, often doing his little vaudeville tricks. He used to do like a hat roll down his arm and everything. So, you know, I didn't hang out with Jack so much because he was obviously with Peter, you know, Charlie. So, you know, you end up being with your parent. But, you know, a really nice man who was very approachable and warm and, you know, funny.
Huh, very cool. And of course, I can't not bring up this guy, uh, Rusty Golf.
Hey, Rusty. Yeah, well, Rusty is still a really good friend, and I speak to him quite frequently. I actually went to his wedding a year ago, and he got married to his lovely wife Sarah. They'd been together for 28 years. They just never got around to getting married, and went out to Thailand for his wedding with Sarah and his two boys. Very small wedding, but in Koh Samui. But yeah, Rusty's got a great sense of humor. He's very funny.
Oh, okay. And now, before we conclude this interview, though, Julie, I do want to get a couple of other, maybe two more questions, and that is life after Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Life After Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory went a little bit quiet. The movie was not a success, not a box office success, and it kind of came and disappeared. So we all thought great things were going to happen. I had an options contract to make 6 more movies with the studio, but they never made another movie. Peter Ostrom also had an option contract to do some more movies, so they never made any more movies, and that was it. It just kind of fizzled out and disappeared. So I went back to school, and as you said earlier, I went into And Mother Makes Three, the TV series comedy. Did that, did a few other bits and pieces while I was at school. You know, you're limited to how much you can work when you're underage. So I carried on working, you know, did other bits and pieces. And then at 17, 18, you know, when I left school, making a very distinct change. When you go for adult roles, nobody cares what you did as a child. So I don't remember mentioning Willy Wonka for a great number of years. And plus, it wasn't anything that everybody went, oh my God, that was an amazing movie. It was a lot later, probably the 80s, I would say, when it started to come into its own as a cult film. And then, of course, you know, you're working with people who remembered it from TV growing up, and you get the kind of, oh my God, you were Veruca Salt. Which I still, you know, lots of younger people who are coming up through the industry now are like, oh my God, I love that movie. So, you know, we call it the Wonka effect, that, you know, people are having a rotten day and then you go, did you ever see that movie? And they're like, oh my God. So yeah, and carried on working, you know, as an actress, but, you know, on a very different path. Drama. I was in the original series of Poldark over here, which was another BBC series. Lots of theatre work, and so I had a good career until 10 years ago, more or less, a bit longer than that. I decided to retrain and made a complete switch to become a psychotherapist.
Very cool. And I do want to say that the 70s definitely had a lot, like it was very cool, like the 70s, because this is when Willy Wonka came out. This is when Elton John was finally getting his big break, because I'm a huge Elton John fan. Yeah, but definitely, my girlfriend and her father Neil are huge fans of the 1971 Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory. Would you be able to give them a shout out?
Yeah, tell me again the names.
Melissa and Neil.
Melissa, yeah, you just said your girlfriend. You didn't give her a name.
Oh.
Okay, Melissa and Neil. It's really nice to meet you virtually, and I'm really glad that you have great taste in movies. And I just want to say hi. This is Julie Dawn-Cole, but better known as Veruca Salt.
Awesome, and this is something that will definitely that will make you proud. Like we went to an actual screening last year of Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory in Brooklyn, and Neil won a autographed script of the movie, like an actual script, like and it was autographed by the cast. I mean, your name was on it, Denise's name was on it, Paris Stillman's name was on it, Peter Ostrom. It was cool. It was a raffle. He won it in a raffle, which I thought was really cool.
Fantastic, lucky him.
Yeah. Now, Julie, because this is a open forum, you can talk about. This is a time where you can talk about anything you want. You can say anything you want. The floor is yours, Julie.
I don't have anything to add. I think you've asked some great questions. You know, I'm really happy that the movie is loved by so many people. Had lots of contact during lockdown. You know, it's got people through some tough times and still seems to get people through tough times. You know, yeah, if you want to follow me, I have a Facebook page. I think it's Julie Dawn-Cole, the original Veruca Salt. I think that's what it is. I'm sure you'll find it. Yeah, you can follow me there. And you know, I usually post what we're up to reunion wise and that kind of thing. And yeah, so I have a book out which you can get from Amazon. I suppose I should plug that. My book is called, appropriately enough, I Want It Now.
Definitely got to get my hands on that book. I'm gonna go buy that book too. But yeah, like definitely thank you for the interview, because you made this pure imagination into a reality. Like, to do this interview, I waited a long time, like, to interview, and like, you know, all of you, like any of the Wonka kids. I hope I can get Paris and hopefully Peter next. Like with this interview, like I can't thank you enough for this. Like this was such a
My
true
pleasure.
pleasure.
My pleasure.
And
Well, I think in this current time when life is a little uncertain, if we can help out, then we should.
absolutely. And once things get back to normalcy, and like is a Wonka tour with the reunion of the Wonka kids, I sure love to meet you all one day.
I really hope. I mean, they did a lot of stuff. Must have been for the 40th anniversary. So we were all thinking, oh, great, the 50th anniversary is coming up. That's pretty special. And then, of course, coronavirus hit. So, but if we come out of it all by the spring, then maybe we'll be doing something next summer. I really hope so.
I hope so. I hope it comes to New York. Like, and what I'll do though, like when I've done finalizing editing this, I'm gonna send you a copy of the interview, so that way you'll have access to it. Definitely want to give you a copy of this. But again, thank you so much, Julie. It was such an honor and pleasure. This is like one of my childhood dreams come to life, where I actually interview a legend, a voice, an actress veteran.
Well, that's very kind. So it's been my pleasure. Thanks, Pete. And I hope people enjoy it.
Oh man, I'm gonna post this in the Wonka fans, like again, and you're gonna get a copy of this. But again, thank you so much, and I hope you and your family have an awesome day.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nighttime for me now, and I think my son's cooking me dinner by the smell. It's smelling pretty good.
Okay, you go have the dinner. I'm gonna go. But definitely have an awesome night, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye bye. Bye bye.